What's up, IGN? I'm Zach Ryan, and I'm here with resident Nintendo fan and roller coaster enthusiast Jose Otero.
I've been typecast, but hi, thank you for having me.
And we're here to talk about a big, huge, mega announcement from Nintendo today. They've paired with Universal Studios to create basically Nintendo Land, a theme park, rides, roller coasters. Probably gift shops.
Yeah, well, let's slow down. One thing at a time. So
I'm
definitely Nintendo and Universal, which is interesting only because this is the same company that sued Nintendo in the early 80s over Donkey Kong and the whole King Kong IP. It's a famous case. You should look it up if you don't know about it.
Two famous apes.
Yeah, but more importantly, Nintendo and Universal Studios are basically teaming up to make attractions around Nintendo IP. Now, this is a really smart move, especially for Nintendo these days, because if you've been keeping up with the news, you know that Wii U has struggled out of the gate for a very long time. Even this past earnings report or hearing for the year that it still did not meet their target, even though their target was something like 3.6 million units, is a continuing sign that that platform is struggling. 3DS is struggling against the smartphone competition. So Nintendo earlier this year made a move to partner with a company and start putting out games on mobile devices. So in a time where Nintendo is finding it hard to basically get revenue from and profit from the places they normally do, they're looking at ways to take their IP to other places and experiment. And I think it ultimately is a really smart move. People have wanted this for years.
Well, and that's what we were talking about this morning, right? So when the news broke, we had been talking about this probably a month ago. We were talking about how awesome it would be to have Nintendo theme parks or Nintendo rides in another theme park, and but at the time our conversation was it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the last 6 months with the DNA announcement, and I feel like Nintendo is finally kind of loosening up on that stranglehold that they have on their properties. And what an awesome concept, because I feel like, you know, they're pairing up with Universal, which I think makes a lot more sense than pairing up with Disney. Disney already has its own pantheon of super famous, recognizable characters, and I think at Universal, these Nintendo characters can really shine.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like a really smart idea
to
pair with those guys, and I think we're going to see some really cool stuff coming
and that stranglehold has existed for a reason when you think about it. I mean, Nintendo has tried to dive into some IP, licensing their IP, and ultimately they got burned. They had a horrible movie. Yeah, they had a horrible movie. They had some horrible, CDI games, which I still can't believe that deal actually happened. But so Nintendo has been very cautious of when and why it would try to branch out its IP, simply over the fact that they understand that they can absolutely devalue it.
Right.
So it'll be very interesting to see what these themed attractions will look like, and ultimately how soon they'll be implemented as well. But you look at, even Nintendo president Satoru Iwata has been saying, at investors meetings, that Nintendo is looking at itself more as an entertainment company these days, not so much as a video game maker anymore.
Right.
That shouldn't give everyone who loves the video game side of Nintendo cold feet, though, because ultimately they still understand that that's a big audience, and they've built up IP over 30 years through just that. So I don't think that's going away. But at the same time, finding really cool uses for those universes. I mean, you look around in Mario Galaxy, Donkey Kong games, Zelda games. These are universes. These are places that easily can translate into a really cool theme park, right? Look at the last Mario Kart. The Bowser Castle with the big mecha Bowser in the center, stuff like that on a theme park ride. People would lose their minds.
Oh, absolutely.
So it is a smart move. Interestingly, not Disney, Universal instead, but Disney practically owns my childhood right now. So I don't think I'm that disappointed that they ultimately, made the deal with Universal instead.
Yeah. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, what kind of rides do you want to see? Roller coasters? I don't want to see any of those VR boxes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Remember those from when you were a kid?
Yeah, no.
That's my biggest fear, is because they in the release they said something about, what was it? Experiences.
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of thing I was like, oh no, I don't want a VR box.
I think maybe the most recent and best example of Nintendo IP sort of being used in an interesting way is if you look at the crossover stages they did in Mario Kart.
Sure.
Where if you look at Hyrule Circuit is a great homage to Zelda, and yet Zelda has never had anything to do with racing before. You can say the same thing of Animal Crossing. You can say the same thing of, I think, a lot of their IPs. Less Nintendo Land and more like that is what I'm hoping for, just something where you're hanging on to the edge of your seat. I think that could be really cool, but I don't know. That's at least my lame answer. What would you say you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that their properties lend themselves already so well to the theme park rides. I'd love to see like a Mario Kart themed roller coaster or something like you were saying,
F-Zero.
or like I don't know, some kind of like exploration-based ride in Legend of Zelda, with like branching paths or something. Could be really
definitely.
cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you guys think? Are you excited about Nintendo pairing up with Universal and theme parks and roller coasters? Obviously we are.
You should be.
Let us know in the comments below, and for more on Nintendo, roller coasters, theme parks, keep it right here at IGN.